Tad, okay. So, my ethical marketing king. So, how did you turn your calling into clients? What was the internal, the energetic shift? And what did that actually look like? How did you start out?
There wasn't a big internal shift for me. I didn't have a lot of the roadblocks
Okay.
around that, but I initially it started because I couldn't think of anything else to do. I was just incapable of holding down a job. And so I knew I needed to be self-employed. And I thought, well, I like to talk and I know more about marketing than my hippie friends who needed help and they would ask me for help because they knew. So I just thought maybe I'll do a workshop. So I did a workshop.
Can I interject a question there?
Yeah.
Why do you think us I would identify as a hippie. Why do you think us hippies find marketing so difficult? Why is it so gross to us?
Because it is gross a lot of the time. It's not a fault of the in the eyes. It's what we're looking at. We're looking at coercion
Mm,
often. And then we most of you listening, your mother was coerced in birth. She did not have the birth experience she wanted. She was pressured. Certain interventions were, uh, yeah. Then as a child, you were coerced, maybe by your parents, well-intentioned. I mean, no blame, but it's just this happens, and parents are overwhelmed and this is what they learn. Then you go to school and oh my God, you thought you knew coercion. Well, there it is. You got the gold stars and sent to the principal's office, and then you get a job. Oh my God. Now you're seeing the real coercion. Now it's money and your rent and you can't, and then you're old enough to vote. Oh my God. Now coercion unveils itself entirely and propaganda. You see what I'm saying? We grew up in a society that is steeped in coercion, and then we're expected to understand how to behave ethically. And then what comes after all of that is you say, well, I'm going to get a job in marketing. And some part of you has always felt uneasy with the coercion. But marketing says, no, 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 it's okay. And here's a series of rationalizations for
mm,
all of that manipulation and coercion. Here's some Novocaine for your soul. In my experience, people often, a lot of the hippies, they'll go out and they'll see these marketing tactics. Then they feel uncomfortable. And the marketing coach says, well, that's clearly a inner block you have, and we can do some work. And wouldn't you know it, you're so lucky. I've got a $10,000 coaching program on inner work to help you with that. And maybe you don't have a limiting belief. Maybe you have a conscience instead. Maybe the part of you that is resisting doing these tactics is not the worst part of you, it's the best part of you.
wow. Wow. Who did that land for? Yeah. My goodness. You're speaking to me, Tad. That's beautifully said. And thank you for going on that little side tangent of why marketing feels gross, but it's because of how we've been conditioned in and kind of groomed into coercion, and how actually that ethical part of us could be the most beautiful part of us. But you shared how you just couldn't work for
Right.
anyone else like that, like don't do well with a boss. And you said you were very good at speaking. And so what is it that led you to actually gaining clients and to making a business out of this?
Right. So well, let me just add one more thing to that. I
Oh,
think if we
please.
if we go to the heart of why it feels bad is because almost all marketing and sales training is based on getting the sale. How do I get people to say yes? And there was a fellow Ari Galper I came across. His website's unlockthegame.com. And he was the first person I ever heard unpack it. Because when I was 18, I did all this. The Tom Hopkins, the Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins. And all of it was based on that. And he was the first person to say, what if instead of going for the sale, you go for the truth of whether it's a fit or not? And that becomes the entire aim. And I think that is at the heart of almost all coercion, is the trying to get somebody to do something that they may not want to do, that might not be a fit for them.
Right.
But yeah, so I did a workshop and three people came and it wasn't good. And only two people came back the next day. And I tried to reach out to that person who didn't come back, and I never heard back from them. And I just kept doing it. But I was in Halifax doing Celtic studies in Antigonish, and somebody said, my friend has a yoga studio. Do you want to teach a marketing workshop? And I thought maybe I'll do it pay what you can because I'd done it that way initially in an event in Fairfield. Anyways, I started doing workshops pay what you can, partly because it was just easier, less need to market so hard, get people in the room. And I'd wanted to be a street performer growing up. So it sort of combined. And so I still literally yesterday in Nelson, BC, where I am, I led a day-long workshop on a pay-what-you-can basis. Not everything in my business pay-what-you-can, but all my live workshops, my retreats are pay-what-you-can. So I did that. And similar to Kathy, I had a blog, old blogspot blog. I just started writing my thoughts. And people would email me and say, I have like 30 tabs open of different blogs you've written. And it let people feel safe, I think, to check me out from a distance, which is something I think for all of us to consider of how do we have people feel safe. And something else I wanted to say that I think it was something Kathy said too that resonated with me is you may not feel ready for what you're doing. And you may pivot over time. But Michael Beckwith has a great line. He said, God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. You learn as you go. You're going to make mistakes. So how did I turn it into clients? A series of failures, a litany of disasters that I learned from, and just kept going. And most people quit before they benefit from the troubles they've caused themselves. So yeah, not much to brag about over here, really.
No, beautiful. No, thank you. We're all about authenticity and versus bragging because I think we've had enough of the, like you said, the marketing that's to get the sale, right? And it's really the authenticity and how can we as individuals step if we are called and therefore we're going to get qualified through life, how can we step into leadership and how can we do it in a way like Kathy said about we don't know what it's going to look like, and also what Kathy in both and a theme of what you were saying is about non-attachment in enrollment or in any kind of sales. I've particularly for myself, just speaking from my perspective, if I look at the Buddhist philosophy of non-attachment, I always practice that. And I find that non-attachment to how your business looks, non-attachment is not just trying to get the sale, but truly what is in highest alignment and divine timing for that person. So beautiful. Thank you, Tad, for sharing that. And I'm going to take that away absolutely for myself of why sales and marketing the way it has been taught in the kind of the hyper masculine, almost like patriarchal format does feel so gross and why there's so much shaming around there's a limiting belief in you and we just need to work that out through whatever leadership program, whatever that is, could actually be the most ethical and truest part of us. So thank you for sharing that.